Let's now bring in Nixon Katembo, who's an African Affairs Analyst and also works with Channel Africa. Nixon, good morning. Thank you so much for making time for us. It is D-Day in the DRC. It is the 20th of December and people going to the polls. It started off with a bit of a slow start considering that the polling stations didn't open exactly at 6 p.m. But the big concern is also that not all Congolese people are able to participate in the elections, and concerning those especially that are on the eastern parts of the country. What does this mean for the credibility of the elections and also the legitimacy of whoever is elected post these polls?
I think we have to look at the nominal margin to which the electoral commissions is allowed to declare these results, whether a certain number of people did not vote or not. You would recall that a similar situation happened in the past elections in 2018, where the region that were under Ebola did not vote, as well as the western part of Kwamuti, where there was insecurity. So this will not have a serious impact on the overall result of the elections. However, one need to note the disfranchising those who were supposed to be participating in this election, but because of insecurity in a territory like Masisi and Walikale, as well as Ruchuru, are not going to be able, because those areas are under the occupation of the M23 rebels.
Yeah. What then should we read into the administration of Felix Tshisekedi not being able to find a peaceful solution around what's happening in the eastern parts of the country to actually allow those people to participate in these elections? Because the question, as I raised with Ditaba earlier on as well, is that consistently people have asked, is Felix Tshisekedi the president of the entire DRC, or is he just the president of a part of the DRC?
I think one would be doing a disservice to President Tshisekedi himself, in all honesty, because this problem did not start with his administration, although there has been prior engagement to what is happening. I guess if you look at the history of the DRC from 1996 up until today, and the various recycling of rebel group, both of which have been either supported by Rwanda and Uganda, and the current M23 being supported by Rwanda. So he is trying to do his effort as a president. Ditaba noted the issues of around the security sector reform in terms of training more soldiers to deal with the security, because you'd recall that the security situation in the DRC is what it is because of the deliberate demolition of the state institutions when Laurent Kabila was coming in with under the FDL rebellion supported by Rwanda and Uganda. So that continuation have happened. Unfortunately for current presidents also, he finds himself in a situation where things has gone even more worse because of a lack of institutional framework, particularly with the security situation. I would say the current DRC army is amalgamation of the various former rebel groups, of both of which had different allegiance to various rebel leaders, including Jean-Pierre Bemba himself, the current defense minister, who also had an MLC rebellion that rebelled against the government then. So to reconstitute the army of the DRC is critical, and if President Tshisekedi is working on that, and as your reporter alluded to in Kinshasa, then that seems to be an indication of where this is going, and one cannot mention the fact that he himself mentioned it in the last campaign rally, that the Congolese government the Congolese people should not worry that they have enough materials, logistical support and the army to deal with the current situation in the east, to the extent of saying that they are going to export the war to Kigali, something that could trigger some regional tensions given the situation where it is right now.
Yeah, and I was about to ask about that. Felix Tshisekedi has always been clear around his allegations that Rwanda is actually supporting the instability in the eastern parts and also supporting of the M23, and that's the reason why it has resurged. Of course, you have Paul Kagame, who has denied these particular claims, but now Felix Tshisekedi going as far as saying that do re-elect me, and if that is done and Rwanda continues its instability that it is influencing in the eastern parts of the country, we will declare a war. What do you make of that?
I think we should not run away from the fact that the Congolese issue has interwoven in Rwanda's problems. First, it started when immediately after the Rwandan genocide ended. And then you look at it, that it happened, Rwanda has been in the DRC, and two key issues that are driving Rwanda. One, it's economic adventure because of the mineral resources just across. Then the second is around the issues of security concerns by Rwanda in terms of the FDLR. But those have been well discussed in various UN reports in terms of who is getting what, and Rwanda cannot deny for the fact that there has been numerous UN reports pointing to the fact that Paul Kagame is supporting the current rebellion, even the previous rebellion going on in the DRC. So what is happening now is this situation happened in the broader context of geopolitics changing around the world. And you'd recall that Avril Hain, the U.S. National Security Chief, was in Kinshasa and Kigali trying to broker a ceasefire, a 72-hour ceasefire, which both the government agreed upon. But it remains to be seen whether this is going to be respected. And I think Kagame is accepting this ceasefire on the basis that he's under pressure. President Tshisekedi is also under pressure from the U.S., but also the geopolitical issues that happen within the Great Lakes region, where China is aggressively caught in the DRC, but also the DRC army purchasing some of the Chinese equipment, such as drone, to fight the M23, something that the Americans are not happy with, and they see that maybe if they allow Paul Kagame to continue with the war in the DRC might end up slipping out of the Americans' hands, and therefore creating a geopolitical nightmare for the Americans within the context of the Great Lakes region.
Well, heading into these elections, we were told that 26 presidential candidates are contesting this position for the highest office in the land. Some of those have now withdrawn their names. What do you make of this development? Or was it always a clear cut, as you'd argued before, that chances are very high that Felix Tshisekedi could be re-elected?
I mean, if you look at it, and one will have to look at the onset of how he maneuvered his way out of Kabila's coalition together, which brought him to power, and what many terms as a parliamentary coup, to have his own parliamentary majority, then afterwards co-opting those who would be serious challenges to his governance and get them into govern the likes of Jean-Pierre Bemba and many others, and then rallying a call on security, which has been the main issue and the mainstay on the Congolese politics since 1996. So if you look at how he has been campaigning in terms of underlying the issue of security in the issue, and by the way, President Tshisekedi is the first president ever to point out on President Paul Kagame as being the problematic person in the Great Lakes region, and he has pointed out that, look, Kagame has had issues with Burundi, he has had issues with Uganda, he has had issues with Tanzania, at some point with President Jakaya Kikwete, and now the DRC issues. Then he was clear to say that, look, we have to deal with this problem, but we cannot deal with this problem without dealing with Kagame. And I think that has brought him some popular support among the Congolese people, and many of whom I have spoken to in the area like Goma, in Beni, and in places like Ituri, many of whom I contact, they say, no, our major priorities, first the security, the rest we can deal with internally. And those presidential candidates, if they do not have this idea around the security, around what the Congolese are yearning for, then it's well justified that they have dropped out of the contestation and leaving the all possibility for President Tshisekedi to be re-elected.
Thank you so much for your time. Nixon Katembo, the African Affairs Analyst and also producer at Channel Africa. And of course, all of this happening as the European Union has cancelled its observer mission program because the country did not allow it to use satellite equipment for its deployment. And also the East African Community Bloc saying that on Monday it will not be present in the DRC, that is physically to observe the country's general elections, after the relevant authorities did not grant permission for them to undertake that particular exercise.